I'm Mike Richards, and you're watching Nasty Knuckles.
You're listening to Nasty Knuckles, the Hockey Outlaws podcast, with your hosts, Derek Nasty Sotomayor and former Philadelphia Flyer enforcer Riley Cote, as they go behind the scenes with your favorite NHL players. Time to face off.
All right, welcome back. What's happening, Nasty?
What's up, Rigarelia? You just like staying out there in Florida or wherever the hell you are? Can't come
Chad's
to the
Ford,
stew?
PA. Something
Chad's-
like Florida.
Yeah,
Nice and warm down here.
Yeah, up there, down. I don't even know. I don't know where you are. I know one thing. You weren't at our game at 10:30 p.m. this past Sunday.
Yeah, I was sleeping. I've been in bed for about an hour at that point.
An hour, maybe three.
No,
Maybe
not
three.
that. Yeah, I can't be in bed before the girls. I mean, don't work like
that's
that.
Good point. Well, they know they're gonna outlast you. They go in their room, wait for you to fall asleep, and that's party
Time, yeah.
Party central in there. Cupcakes, everything. They got them
I've seen
hidden.
it.
They've got them
They
hidden.
do, yeah. Busted them with a few chocolates the other day from Valentine's.
Did you?
Forbidden fruit, Nast.
You're such a sweetheart, I'll tell you. You're just a Valentine's guy. You're a lover now.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fighter anymore, just a lover.
Yep. Got to transition in life, you know?
You have to find a way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. Obviously, we haven't had any NHL action as far as NHL National Hockey League teams, but what the last few days of this Four Nations tournament, man. I mean, it's been terrific. It really has, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this? It's been a lot of fun to watch, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pumped. I mean, obviously with the finals, Canada, USA, I think everything leading up to it, obviously the Canadian and USA game, 3 fights, first 9 seconds. I think the overall energy and just the essence of the tournament itself is high end. So it's been amazing hockey, and I just think the storyline of the finals is the best it can be. I mean, I think every American, every Canadian was hoping for that, and
it got a little tricky there.
Yes, it did.
A little hairy for Canada, but boy, I think they played their best game, their last game until the last 5 minutes when they tried to.
They almost blew it.
Put a scare into you guys. Yeah, no, I'm like, come on, boys.
I was like, oh no.
I know,
but
you're right, man. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and I think. I'm not sure how the owners feel about it because we've seen some injuries already, with some pretty significant. Well, every guy on either team, all 4 teams are obviously huge players for their NHL clubs because this tournament's basically picking the best from all these countries in the world, obviously, with the exception of injured guys before the tournament. But I mean, it's been better than an all-star game. I hate to say that. It's a fun weekend. I've done it. Obviously, I was lucky enough to do it 2017 when Wayne Simmons won the MVP, and it was one of the best things I've ever able to do in hockey. But this has been really exciting.
Oh yeah, I mean, it makes the all-star game look like, I don't even know, like just pond hockey, right? I mean, this is like Game 7 Stanley Cup final stuff, right? These guys are fighting for their countries, I guess you could say, right? At the end of the day, it's like they're fighting and they're playing like it. They're bringing it. I mean, this is beyond effort. I mean, they're involved. Their spirit's there. They're physically putting themselves out there, and I mean, I'd love to see this over a All-Star any day. I mean, I understand the All-Star piece, but it just, for a fan, it's just, it's slow. It's not realistic.
Right.
Yeah, you can see high level skill, but I mean, to see McDavid and say Crosby, I'm probably choosing the Canadians here, but like to be able to elevate their game in these types of tournaments and just show you how elite they are. It's just really putting it in perspective, like on international stage to be that obviously better than everyone else. Like,
right.
it's
And the numbers, showed it from Saturday night's game, on ABC. I read like the numbers were the highest they've been in 5-6 years
you're right.
for hockey. And it was funny because I was obviously watching. I felt like I was there because, well, I'm a little hyper, some may
Just
say.
a little bit.
Buddy, I was coming off the couch. Like I was so fired up. We'll get into it a little bit more, but in a few minutes with our special guest that we have an announcement about. But I mean, I was just fired up, and it wasn't like before when I've been fortunate enough to do so many things with USA Hockey, and it's like, it's funny, like you have teammates or guys that were on my team that I worked with that I love, right? Like you love, but man, when it comes to those games, there's just a hatred. I don't know if that's too strong of a word, but it's almost that way. And I know you've seen it and you know it, but I was just, when the first 9 seconds with all those guys battling, again, we can get into it a little bit more, but like, I was like, man, I got to give Brandon Hagel credit. Like, are you kidding me? Sam Bennett, like, even Cole Pareko on the Canada side, like, dude, those guys, they stood there and battled, and those guys don't probably, maybe Sam Bennett been
Yeah,
in a
well,
few scraps,
sure.
but like, you got to give those guys credit, man. They answered the bell. I think the U.S. went in there with an agenda, and they want to start this off with a bang, and they did that. And there was like jokes about how they had a little group text going, "Hey, let's get something going tonight." And but I tell you what, you should know, anyone on that Team Canada roster, no matter who it would be, probably would not have backed down at that point. And
Oh,
it was
yeah.
and it was fun to watch. I mean, it was great.
It was, and I actually really loved the way US came in there, dictated it, right? I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I would say it's all them, right? I mean, they came in guns a-blazing into Canada, into Montreal, and right out of the gate, you got obviously a couple of the biggest leaders in the game, especially on that team, taking charge and doing what they needed to do just to kind of, again, dictate the pace and dictate the energy and come and get guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly the attitude that they needed to come in with. They did it. It seemed to work. The Tkachuks aren't small guys, right? And
No.
I was seeing, I forget where I saw the clip, but it was a clip of NHL season and Hagel and Tkachuk going at it and, just chirping. So like a lot of this competitiveness and this rivalry comes obviously beyond just, it being USA versus Canada. These guys have butt heads before.
Right.
And in this specific instance, it was probably more than USA versus Canada hockey wise. Obviously there was probably a little bit of political inflammation there, maybe with the anthem boos and whatever else that maybe just maybe fueled them a little bit more. But at the end of the day, these guys really do wear their jerseys with pride, and it's what it's all about, right? And
Yeah.
to come in to Montreal like that with the chip on their shoulder. Now I just love to see Canada do the same thing. The finals.
I would.
And dust the Americans up.
I don't know if this game's going to start out with 3 tilts, but
No, I won't.
But you can guarantee Canada's coming to play. I mean, it's just what, it got a little, a little hairy. Like I said before, they had to win, and I thought it was their best game of the tournament. Honestly, not that I didn't think they played poorly against the U.S. the first time. I thought they played really well on Monday, and until the last 5 minutes where they kind of just let off the gas
quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. Like, you're like, oh boy. And even me, like, I'm normally not pulling for Canada, but I was, because everyone wants to see this. And no offense to Finland or Sweden, because they're great teams, but I think everyone at the end of the day wanted to see this.
Oh yeah, 100%. Super pumped. I just wanted to mention just the last play there with the empty netter by Crosby there. Just like, 37 years old, laying the body, right? It's just like, doing what he needs to do, because like you were saying, like, it was getting hairy there. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell? How do you score first shift and 4
Yeah.
goals in the first?
Yeah.
And then this is happening. I understand when you have a lead like that, you generally play a little, more laid back, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. But just like I seen the wheels falling off the carriage there, and I was like, oh man, this can't be happening. But obviously, big time players step up and just lock it down, I guess you could say, right? Just
Yeah.
make a big hit, disrupt the entry, and obviously score an empty netter. But I'm looking forward to this game. I think probably the whole hockey world is.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be buzzing.
Yeah.
Buzzing, Nast.
Later on tonight, buddy.
You going?
I'm pretty sure I'm jumping on a PJ here around 4, heading right up. So my boys in Boston are going to take care of me.
There you go.
Equipment staff. As far as Sweden goes, we were talking about this earlier, Riggs. Like, they really kind of screwed their tournament up with that loss against Finland, and I don't think anyone saw that one happening after the U.S. Beat Finland pretty handily, but they were kind of decimated on the defensive side. They were missing 3 top players that are hurt right now, so I don't think that helped Finland. But our boy Sam Ersson played a great game against U.S.
Yeah, he did.
Faced 33
big
shots. Makes the first save, second shot in the net. Kreider gets inserted into the lineup, and he announced his presence with authority right away with a goal, and then that was the end of it. I think U.S. hit about 5 posts or something, but I always tell Elvis if they hit the post, he took the net away. That's all they could get. But Sam played really well, and that's good for him because with the Olympics coming up next year, and if he keeps playing well for the Flyers like he has lately, it was cool to see for him. I didn't really want U.S. to lose, but I was happy for Sam for sure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, nice to see him. He looked really poised and confident. It was just really, nice to see him have success, and wish him the best as he returns and moves on.
Yeah, man. I'm one last thing I'll say about all this is a little worried about some of the injuries. I'm hearing stuff about it. I think both Tkachuks will play. There's talk about Quinn Hughes was coming in, but you would have to get another injury for him to play. But they could say someone's got the flu,
Oh yeah,
and
exactly.
he can play. I mean, that's all you have to do. You can work around it, right? And I think Biz, our buddy Biz, I think he tweeted out a picture of like Tom Wilson or said, let's bring Tom Wilson in here.
I saw that,
And let me ask you a question, Riggs, quickly. I know it's hard to pick a team for Canada, right? Like, I mean, you almost could have 2 teams, but that's a guy that's had some pretty good years here and is physical. And I thought U.S. kind of handled the physical play a little bit more with the Tkachuk brothers, with Matthew and Brady, but also Charlie McAvoy had some pretty big. He caught McDavid. You don't see McDavid get hit too much. He got caught across the blue line. He kind of got cornered there. It wasn't really anywhere for him to go, but he didn't lay on the ice either like a little bitch. He got up and kept playing. I mean, it wasn't a dirty hit. Obviously, it was a really good body check. But man, now looking at their roster, like Tom Wilson, man, like that's a big man. I'm kind of shocked that he wasn't on there. Maybe I don't know if there's an injury there or something like that, or he just wasn't chosen. But he's a guy when you look at the U.S. roster with a little bit of some heavy players, right?
Some heavy players, yeah, big bodies.
So I mean, but Team Canada, they'll do okay, I'm sure. But I did like that tweet though. I thought it was pretty good. Made sense.
Yeah, it did make sense. Yeah, I'm not sure how realistic it would be, but I mean, I know where you're coming from. I know where Biz is coming from for sure. I think the Canadian team will be fine. They just got to, I say, come in with that same attitude the Americans came in with. They got to go in and dictate. I mean, I think they'll be fine with the lineup they have. I do think that the American team is bigger and heavier for sure, but I think if they just stick to their game plan and not get swallowed up into the Americans' game plan. It's gonna be a great game no matter what. I hope so. Yeah. So, we will see. I'm gonna be cheering on the red,
white, and blue.
White,
red,
and blue.
White,
You're going
red. You going red, white, and blue, Riggs?
No, red. Just red, and white.
That's Bruce Bagoots. Hey, I did want to mention one thing. It's not going to be out for a little bit, but I did. I went over and did an interview was gentleman Charlie Menn. He's a filmmaker. He's done like 45, and it's on Pelle Lindberg's the 40th year. Unfortunate anniversary of his death is upon us. So he's doing a documentary on Pelle, and from all the guests that I've seen that he had, not including me, it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. So when that comes out, we'll let everybody know.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that one.
Yeah, man. Charlie's a good dude, a good hockey guy. No, we ended up, it's funny, we chatted for about an hour afterwards, and we know a lot of the same people, some people as well. So it was cool. It was fun.
Great.
Yeah, man.
Looking forward to that one. Nas, you got some news?
We got a little bit of news. We got someone joining the Nasty Knuckles team. Hopefully hopefully twice a month, depending on his schedule, because it's always he's always moving and grooving. But our former captain, our former teammate, our good friend, and has been a guest on the show a couple times, Captain's Corner with Mike Richards.
Yeah.
Riggs. We're going to start that, and it's starting today. What better guy that's played a lot of international hockey, obviously a Olympic champion, world junior champion, world championship champion. But get Richie's thoughts on this and other things as we move throughout the season.
Oh, yeah. Welcome, Richie.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That. Yeah, exactly. Appreciate his insights as always. Obviously a winner on every level.
Yep.
Knows the game. He's just like the epitome of a hockey player, a captain in Philly. I mean, the whole bit. So good friend of ours. Appreciate Richie's willingness to hop on and share some wisdom.
Yes. Captain's Corner, baby. All right. Captain's Corner, Riggs. I'll tell you what. I just got messages daily from this guy, from our captain, our friend, our teammate. I got to be part of Nasty Knuckles. I'm like, you only have to ask once, Rick Button. Actually, it's the other way around. We've been bugging Richie on his damn vacation throughout the winter here. But welcome to Captain's Corner. Our guy, Mike Richards. He needs no introduction. Richie, thanks for joining us, first of all. Just wanted to, obviously, we're talking about the Four Nations haven't had any NHL regular games because of this tournament. But while the tournament started off, especially Saturday night with the U.S.-Canada game, did you think it would be that intense?
Not that. I mean, I knew it would be intense, but not that level of, the fighting really caught me off guard. And it was funny, too, because, right when the first one happened, you could kind of see everybody was fired up, and then it was like, oh, there's going to be another one here.
Yeah.
And then obviously another one. I mean, Sam Bennett to fight, he's
a big man.
Big boy.
Yeah.
And for Bennett to step up, that was a good fight. And then obviously the third one, Miller was a little undersized. Parenko just kind of held him out, but he did well too. And it was good. It's crazy because usually when you have that, the peak right at the beginning, there's usually a letdown, and then it was good hockey for that right. Whole first period. It was just electric. It was wild.
Richie, I was going to ask you, I mean, obviously Canada, US is always huge games. The rivalry is clearly always there. How much of that first 9 seconds was some bit politically charged with the landscape right now?
Yeah, I don't think it was much political. I think it was just I think Canada's done so well at international hockey for so long. I think that was more the American team saying we're here. It was kind of the way I saw it. I didn't think anything had much of politics in it, maybe 1%, but I think it was more the American team wanting to make a statement and kind of saying we're here. Because if you look at their team on paper and Canada's team, on paper, you'd probably give the edge to the Americans. Obviously, Canada's got the best players like McDavid, McKinnon, but as a whole, probably the Americans. And since it's been so long, Canada obviously won Sochi, Canada won whatever the tournament was there a few years ago. Canada won 2010. So the Americans probably felt like a little, like the little brother, I guess, kind of coming in. And I think that was more so them just wanting to like make a statement, say we're here and basically we'll do anything.
Yeah, and they did that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was saying to Riles, Rick Bone, like even like Matthew Tkachuk challenges Braden Hagel, and I'm like, wow, like that guy's got balls, and you know why he's doing it. And it felt, I know the U.S. Kids kind of, or not kids, but the players kind of had a little group text saying, hey, let's get something going tonight. But for Brandon Hagel to drop his mitts, like I was like really super impressed, and I thought he held his own in that tilt. And then like you just mentioned, Brady Tkachuk's a big man, not that Matthews not, but he's a big man.
Yeah.
And Sam Bennett stood in there and threw. They were chucking, man. And I said to Riles, like I gave those two guys like so much credit because Brady and Matthew, that's more of their game, right? Like they mixed it up.
Brady for sure. Like Matthew doesn't play it as much as Brady does, but Brady, I don't think even knows how to say no when it's when it comes to fighting. But good on Canada. Like you didn't have to fight. Like there's no way Hagel had to fight, especially in that moment. You can easily just say like, well, let's just see how the game's going. Hagel went right away. Probably giving up a little bit of size to Tkachuk. Brady calls out Sam from the bench. Sam's like, screw it, like let's go then. Pops right on, no issue there. And then Parayko turns around and Miller's already got his gloves off, looking around. And he's like, I'll answer the bell. So it was cool. Like it was just like, I mean, it was a surprise, but. Like, I guess when you think about it, it shouldn't be like, I think people are used to international, like double IHF rules where you get kicked out of the game if you fight.
Yeah.
So now that it's, I guess, NHL rules, it probably brings that in a little bit more, which is probably why you don't see it in international hockey because of that rule.
Right.
So now that, I think in '96 there was a bunch of fights there during that
World Cup
hockey, and obviously they're different era, different guys. Like they had 50 goal scorers that would get 200 penalty minutes back then, but it's still there. Anytime you step on the ice wearing the Maple Leaf, you step on the ice representing America. It doesn't matter where it is, when it is, or what you're playing for. Like guys are going to be engaged and. It's pretty cool to see. Even like just like fights aside, like I think the game kind of in the second period lost a little bit. Like I think it was a little deflating after that first, but like just the level of hockey, like all through the tournament has been incredible. And I think that's what you'll see more on Thursday is probably like incredible hockey instead of the fights or as much instead of the fights. But it like to go 9 or 10 years without seeing this, I think has added to it a bit, but also it shows what we've been missing, really. Like the hockey is incredible, the passion's incredible, and to see guys go out there and show how much that they care about it. I mean, we can get into the injuries and why it hasn't happened for 10 years, and obviously that's the downside, but you got to give them credit. Like, Gary can say a lot of things about what they've done in the league office, but this has been a home run for me.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the league has to be so happy with this. And it's funny, like obviously we all know that the fighting aspect is still alive in hockey. It's nothing like it was, years ago. And I don't think anyone really wants that. But when there's passion like that and that happens in the game still today, there's not as much staged fights, but when you see guys like you just mentioned, man, I don't think there was a person sitting down in the arena, and maybe not even in their house, right? You definitely lean up to the
I was definitely sitting up watching. You can say like I fully understand the staged element, and even though there was like a group text I guess, going on during the day. Like, I wouldn't see that as being staged. Like, I think there was a point behind it and what the Americans were trying to do instead of just, you know, hey, do you want to go put on a show type of thing. I think it was the Americans saying, like, we're here and we're here to play, more so than just fighting for the sake of fighting. So,
right.
Like, I wouldn't say that was, it was spontaneous in a sense that you weren't sure that it was going to happen, but I wouldn't say it was like staged in a sense of like people were just fighting just to fight. You know,
right.
Like, there was a meaning behind it.
Yeah, it was. It was. You were just saying it's been 9-10 years, and 2016 World Cup. I was fortunate enough to work for USA, and we had 3 pre-tournament games. Obviously, there were more teams involved. It wasn't just 4 nations. This is obviously the first time they've done this, but we played Team Canada on Friday night in Columbus because that's where we had training camp. John Tortorella was a coach, and you would have thought it was Game 7. Like, everything in the world on the line for this pre-tournament game. I mean, guys were fucking killing each other, man. And I mean, I just remember, like, we actually won the game, and it meant nothing because we went 0-3 in the tournament. But that game, like, I think the U.S. Left out some skilled players to bring in a lot of sandpaper and heavy players. But I mean, when you're going against Team Canada and even the other teams, we didn't beat one team, but it was crazy. And my point is, we in 2010, when you were an Olympian and I was the equipment pigeon for Team USA, we beat you guys in the round robin play.
Yeah.
And then this is what scares me about tonight. This happened obviously for US, wins Saturday night, and then tonight, Thursday here. We have this final game, so I'm a little worried about that. But what I wanted to ask you is, how was your confidence going into that gold medal game back in 2010 after you knew, like, we had beat you earlier in the tournament?
Yeah. I mean, it was high, obviously. Like, anytime you play for Canada, you expect to win. And I actually had this conversation years ago with the general managers, and we were talking about the draft and how it's different draft in Americans, it's a different draft in Canadians. Is Canadians always are, anytime you step on the ice, you're expected to win. Like, basically, right from under 17, under 18, World Juniors, anytime you're in the national program, you just have that expectation that you're going to win, where he was making a point sometimes with other countries, like, you're going out to hope to win. And for Canada, you always expect to win. And I don't think it was any different. In 2010, I'm guessing it's no different, going into Thursday night. I think everyone on the Canadian team expects to win. So I would be a little nervous if I was an American, just because, like, me watching the game, I could see that, like, everything was on the outside for Canada, where it's pretty evident what the game plan needs to be, I guess, going up. And then it would be tough for the Americans to, like, if you did something so well and it worked, like, Canada's obviously going to make an adjustment, whereas Americans have to, like, predict what to do, where Canada has a clear game plan. So I think Canada will work at getting, and even the line changes against the Finland team on Monday. Connor playing with Point, which is just, in my opinion, a much better pair than Marner and McDavid. Both of those guys want pucks, and there's just not enough on the ice for both of them. So I think, Point playing with Kucherov kind of does that similar thing. So just like the adjustments like that, I think it would be tough for the Americans to more sit back and predict what Canada is going to do, whereas the Canadian team looks at film, sees what could work, what they have to do, and has a clear game plan, and is not, I guess, predicting what they need to do better to score more goals. Because, we can get into even like Binnington, a couple of those goals weren't great, but anytime you score one goal, you're not going to win a hockey game.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask you, how comfortable are you with Bennington? I will say that we were kind of laughing earlier, and even I've talked with Craig Berube about Better, because he's always wanting to mix it up. I don't know if he ever has, but he acts like he wants to. But
he wants it.
Yeah. But I was going to say, I said to Riles earlier, Bennington won a biggest game of his career, Game 7 in that building back in 2019. So. And he never seems to lack confidence. I love the one time when one of the reporters said, "Are you nervous?" He goes, "Do I look nervous?"
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty cocky. He looks pretty confident. He looks pretty confident. But you made a great point, Richie, about the way the game went. I was going to say, it was wild how with all of that offensive talent. And I know guys are taking on different roles, and that's another really cool thing. I think when you get all these great players together, guys, say you get put on a fourth line, but you don't care because you're there to win. And I love that about hockey, guys. But what I was going to say was, with all that talent on the ice, it was amazing how, as the game went on, how small the room was for guys to even try to make plays. Just because of the way they were playing.
Yeah. And like, even though there is, like, Austin Matthews should be up for the Selke every year, like he scores 60, but he's probably one of the best defensive players in the game, and he was going up against Connor all night. So, you don't think of him as a great defensive forward, but he's obviously one of the best. You got McAvoy and Slavin. Like, even though these are some of the most talented players in the game, they're also incredibly detailed. They know how to play defense. They're great at it. So that, kind of offsets some of the offensive talent as well, which I guess you could kind of start, picking apart. Like, it's not easy for a guy that's used to playing 20 minutes a night all of a sudden playing 8.
Right.
So if you are on the fourth line, it's your legs are heavy once you get out on the ice. Like, if you're not out there as much as usual, so you go back to, like, how the team is built, where Canada, I think, has talent from number 1 forward to number 13 forward, even Konechny, Jarvis, these guys that play. I think Konechny got in the other night, but Jarvis was the fourth line against the Americans, and he didn't have a ton of ice time. It's just, like, tough to score. So you really need, like, those top couple lines to create a lot of the offense. And then, like, personally, I would have liked to see Tom Wilson on the team. Just, to have on the fourth line, at least then you're not one-dimensional. So, like, he doesn't have to score. He can, create energy with hits and get it on the forecheck or things like that. So, like, it's always tough building a team when you have to start looking at different things. How you can be effective with only playing, like, 8 minutes a night. So, for the most part, I think there's just, when you have the best on best, it's best in all situations, and it'll be a low-scoring game on Thursday, I would assume, 2-1, 3-2, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. Larkin scored. I think he was on the fourth line there the other night. It is, those top guys usually just cancel each other out. So it'll be interesting to see if it's a power play, who kind of makes the mistake or who capitalizes. And there's a lot of pressure on Bennington. It's probably a good thing he doesn't lack confidence, but Hellebuck's incredible. He played really well the other night, but he also hasn't exactly gone deep in the playoffs. So you just never know how people are going to kind of respond or act in situations like that.
Yeah.
Riggs, would you have been okay with 8 minutes?
Oh, I would have loved 8 minutes. It beats my 4.
Would have been gassed.
You'd have been dead.
I would have been gassed down.
Heavy legs.
Oh man, yeah, 8 minutes. I was like foaming at the mouth when you're saying that, Richie.
But it is tough. Like, when you're used to, even like when you're used to playing over 20 minutes, and you get put on the ice after, like, say 6-7 minutes of not playing, like, your legs are heavy. It usually takes you, like, 1, maybe 2 shifts to kind of get back in the flow of things. And when you have guys like McKinnon, McDavid, like they're getting the offensive zone shifts. So not only are your legs heavy, but you usually have to start in the neutral zone or your own zone. So then you got to go 200 feet, and it's just different. It's not as easy as it says. Like, oh, you just need depth scoring. Like even in the normal NHL, with fourth liners or third liners being put out on the ice in the D zone or in the neutral zone, like you have to create your own offense, and it's tougher to do when you're not starting in the O zone or you're not playing 20 minutes a night.
That's a great point.
That's a really good point. We were talking about Wilson before you hopped on, just like kind of mentioned what you mentioned, just around it would have been awesome to see him in the lineup for the exact reasons you mentioned. We didn't really get into the idea of having a guy playing 20 minutes and having to drop that to 8, and really that does mean a lot, and it does have an impact on the guy's legs and the way he plays. But maybe Wilson would have been a better fit for that. I mean, it's probably easy to say in hindsight. Do you see the final game being a physical, like a real physically branded game outside of the fighting?
I would say the first period probably will, or the first 10 minutes for sure. And then just like most playoff games, you start settling in, and like there's just not going to be a lot of goals, not going to be a lot of space. So you're not going to want to run 10 feet out of the way to either try to make a check and then you miss, and then that guy beats you up the ice. So the first 10 minutes will probably be incredible, guys flying around like a normal playoff game, and then guys will start kind of settling in. I think the refs have done a great job. It hasn't been like 5 power plays each team. It's been like 1 or 2. So Thursday will probably be kind of the same. So if somebody can score on the power play, it'll be similar to that. But it'll be tight check, and it'll just be great hockey. Like skill on there. I think it'll be, guys excited to start and then just kind of settle in and just get back to the kind of the chess match of who's going to make the mistake.
Exactly.
I want to bring up one of your buddies, Richie, Drew Doughty, just got back to playing from that terrible ankle. I believe it was his ankle injury, and jumps right in with the Kings there. Back right, was he getting 26 minutes a night or something? Like no big deal. But him stepping in and he looked. I thought he looked great the other night. He had a really good hit as well. Not that he won't throw a hit, but I thought he looked great for. I mean, you missed what 5 months of hockey, man, 6 months, and jump right back into league playing 26 minutes a night, and then jump into this tournament. Pretty wild, man. And I know he was on the team in 2010 with you. Remember you guys?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah,
like he can literally play 26 in his sleep. Like him and John used to get in battles because he wasn't playing enough, and he'd look at the sheet after the game, he'd be like 29 and a half. Well, he got half the game, but he's been good. I thought he struggled the Sweden game, the first game.
Yeah,
I think you could tell he was just like winded by the speed because he hasn't played a lot, and then I thought the US game, especially when. Yeah, so the first games, the Theodore got hurt.
Yeah.
And then that's when he had to play probably more than he should have been in that game. And then the American game, I thought it was awesome. And then the other night in Finland, same type of thing.
Yeah.
So, that's so much time. It's so hard to step in for anybody into league play, let alone like as fast as that first game was against Sweden. And then the Americans, you got, Matt Brady just in on you on the forecheck, and he looked way better the second than the other night against Finland. He looked like he always does, just awesome.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Richie, like going back to 2010 and being in a room and this team as well. Basically, everyone on your team's probably either a captain or an alternate captain of their teams, but like. Just looking back at 2010 for you guys, was there anyone that really stuck out that was more vocal? Like, because I know you were kind of a guy, like if you had to say something, you did, but you kind of led the way by the way you played the game. How was it in 2010? Was there anyone that stuck out in your in your mind, or was it just kind of a team effort? Everyone kind of.
Yeah. Like there's not a ton that needs to be said in tournaments like that. I think the biggest thing that stood out, like there's always going to be guys that are more vocal, say a little bit more, but it's more of like, let's go boys type of thing. It's not like, let's go do this. But one thing that stood out to me was after we gave up the lead to you guys, the Americans, at the end of the game, and we went in, we had 17 minutes, and it was just quiet. Everyone was kind of like, trying to get themselves going again, kind of get over the shock. And then he just kind of looked over at Scott Niedermayer, and he's just, sitting there, skates off, walking around, drinking like it's, a Sunday morning. And it's not, like leadership is more like how you act than what you say, I think, in most cases. And just to see him, like, it was, not a big deal. We gave up the lead, but whatever. And he just kind of carries out his business. It's normal. I think that said more to me, anyways, at the time than any words.
Right.
Right. Like the quiet confidence of acting like everything was okay and it was supposed to happen that way. So
yeah, that's actually a really good a point. You think of leadership, it's always, most fans I would say think of like this leadership that's like this rah like screaming from the top
movie
down.
scenes.
Movie scenes, right? And I guess they do have their places in certain moments, but when you talk about, like, I say more of a quiet, calm leadership, like that holds almost more weight than this outrageous dramatic scene, right? Just seeing a veteran presence like that staying composed and calm, like how that affects the rest of the group. Super powerful.
Yeah. Like for me anyways, that would have way more of an impact on me than if somebody was like screaming in the room. And like I think after The Last Dance, when you see like Michael Jordan, kind of like harping on people and like holding people accountable, like I think a lot of people think that that's kind of what good leaders are supposed to do, but everyone has different leadership ways, like not everybody is going to continually harp on different things. I think some people do that. Some people lead by example. Some people, lead by kind of their actions and how they carry themselves. And for me anyways, that spoke volumes more than literally anything that could have ever been said at that point. Anyways, it was just business as usual. And sometimes that quiet confidence actually has more of an impact, because when you are talking and saying things, especially in the dressing room over and over again, it kind of gets tuned out at certain points, especially like in kind of the dog days of the season. If it's just continually the exact same message, a lot of people kind of just go about their business without listening. And when you have situations like that where literally nothing needed to be said, everybody knew what was going on, sometimes it's the lack of being vocal is more vocal than the actual yelling.
I remember, obviously we tied the game up. I actually blacked out for a second. I don't think I've ever been that. And I'm not kidding. I got so excited. I think but Jonathan Quick was our third goalie at that time. So he wasn't dressed, but he was standing behind me where I had the sticks, and he like jumped on my back and I had jumped up and I like fell down, but he like kind of held on to me because guys were jumping up down. My fingers, I'm lucky I have my fingers because everyone was jumping up and down. But he pulled me up and I literally like kind of lost time for a second. I got so excited. But then I went in the room and I said, okay, everybody listen up here. Langer, I'm going to take this for you. Jamie Langenbrunner was our captain. No, I'm kidding. But I don't remember. I just remember running around, like putting gloves on the glove dryer and trying to get things ready. But I just remember, like, I know I've said it before, but I went from the highest high and then Sid, with the golden goal. Richie, you just had to stab me right in the heart.
We'll get your new hat, Nast.
We'll get your hat. No, this is the one, man. But yeah, it was these tournaments are great, man. Obviously it's not the Olympics, but which is coming up next year. But it's kind of a nice little prelude to it.
And I think that's like part of the reason why it's so intense and everybody's putting so much into it is it's almost like a mini tryout, if you will, you know, with everybody kind of on their best behavior, doing their best to try to, because like obviously this tournament has been great, but at the end of the tournament, it's, you know, you're done. Okay, see you later. Go back.
Right.
Where the Olympics, I think for most people is like either right there with the Stanley Cup or on par with the Stanley Cup. So I think there's a lot of people that are kind of auditioning for next year, which is obviously the kind of the big thing. So
for sure.
The reason why the hockey and the intensity has been there is because everybody wants to be on that team as well.
Make a difference in the lives of Philadelphia's youth by joining the roster. Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education's monthly giving program. Your support provides under-resourced youth with access to hockey, academic guidance, and life skills development, all at no cost to them. By becoming a member, you'll help shape a brighter future for student athletes, empowering them both on and off the ice. Plus, enjoy special perks like exclusive Wells Fargo Center event access and flyers, memorabilia, giveaways. Visit SnyderHockey.org today and become part of the roster. Any snubs come to mind for both teams? Any guys that you thought maybe should have been on the team? I know you mentioned Wilson there. Anybody else come to mind?
Wilson probably would be the one for me. As for the Americans, I don't know. Like it's always hard to tell, especially because you don't know how they want to build their team. I think, you know, you can look, there's probably one or two guys that you could probably make a case for, whether you want to be more physical, you know, it might be Tom Wilson, whether you want to, for the Americans, maybe it's like a Cole Caulfield or, you know, something like that. I think it just depends on how you want to build your team. If I was doing it, I would try to kind of gear towards multi-tool players, guys that didn't have to score to kind of have an impact on the game. But like it's so close. Like I bet you it would be so tough to sit in a room and make a case for, you know, Seth Jarvis instead of Wilson. You know, like two entirely different players, two incredible players. So I don't know how they kind of whittle that down or how you get to a point of like, you know, flipping a coin almost.
Yeah,
probably.
It's true.
Like, I don't know if there's any snubs where, you know, Quinn Hughes would be the one that you kind of wish played or kind of hope that he played just because he's so great and he deserves to be on that stage. That it's unfortunate that he got hurt. But at the end of the day, you just want to see the best play against the best. And, you know, there's some situations I'm sure you could debate, you know, basically all day if you wanted to about who should be there. But at the end of the day, it's these two teams, and you just want to see the best teams kind of go at it.
We're trying to find a way, Rick Bone, to get Hughesy in there.
Yeah,
so we're mixing some shit up a little bit.
Yeah, especially with McAvoy out, like he was so good the other night. Yeah. Like that'll be tough. Like even McAvoy and Quinn play entirely different games, but you do want to see the best players play against the best players.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed. So official prediction, you kind of alluded to a little bit there.
Yeah, I got Canada 3-2.
Yeah.
I
don't know overtime. I don't know, but overtime would be incredible. I saw obviously the Canadians had overtime with Sweden, but like McKinnon, Makar, McDavid against Matthews, maybe Quinn will play, and I don't know, Eichel. You know, that would be something special.
I feel like Eichel has the longest stick in the fucking league, man.
Yeah,
he's so skilled.
That toe drag,
I know the toe drag, and he never panics. Like he's got a guy.
So composed.
He just holds it. Like he's pretty amazing to watch. That would be cool over time in the final game here. Would be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, that's my prediction. What do you guys got?
I got Canada. I didn't really think about the score. It'd be low scoring game, so I might say similar to. I say 2-1 Canadians though.
Oh, well, I'm going U.S. It's like, I mean, come on, man.
What 5 Cobb? Where are you going?
5 Sam. I think you guys are right. I think it's going to be a close game. I want to say 3-2 on the U.S. side. I think that's maybe. We'll see, man.
Yeah.
Like. I'm worried because we beat Canada in the obviously the first time, and it's hard in a tournament like this to beat a team twice. And I do want to say quickly, Richie, you watch these games. Sweden really screwed up there because they should have losing to Finland. They obviously the game was a little different for the U.S. because it didn't really mean anything, but you got to give Sweden credit. They still won. Sam Ersson, goalie here with the Flyers, played really well, but. Sweden, to me, should have been a little disappointed because I think they let that one go there when they lost.
Even the game, obviously Canada was going to come out hard, but they looked slow to start the game against Canada, and then by the end, we're flying. So obviously it's tough to gauge. You're in Canada, their first game, so they were flying, but they just looked slow off the start, and then they started building, and then, like you said, that for them to lose to Finland is probably just chaps them even that much.
Yeah, exactly. They hate each other. I always ask guys, why do they hate each other so much? Man?
Hate each other.
It's funny, man. They want to kill one another, but
man. But it's great. Even if you think in 2028, I think is the World Cup, and they're going to add teams to that, and then hopefully this nonsense of Ukraine and Russia is over, so then Russia can play, and because they would have. Forwards would be insane. Their goaltending is insane. Imagine having Bobrovsky, Vasilevsky, and Shesterkin.
Not bad.
But
not bad.
It would be cool if it's expanded and you start playing more and you get more countries. Because, even though Finland and Sweden did make the finals, those teams could easily beat any team. It's so close. You bring Russia in there, you get Czechs, and you get Pasternak and those guys. It's just we'll see it next year, but it's awesome to see the amount of pride that everyone kind of has when they play for their country. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Different level of energy for sure.
It is, yeah. You even see it in the World Championships, guys more so from the European teams, but when they lose out, they're gone. They're going right over to the Worlds.
Right.
It's just true. It's awesome. So it should be fun Thursday, but next year the Olympics will be cool.
Yeah. Lots to look forward to.
Can't wait. Yeah. Rick Bone, Captain's Corner, baby. Woo! We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no worries. Good seeing you boys.
Yeah, that was awesome. Great insight.
You fishing today?
No fishing. I'm going to head to the course here shortly, I think. My golf game's horrible right now, so.
Well, I need to get down there and we will throw a couple dollars a hole on it. I'm kidding. I haven't played since last summer. I'm totally kidding. I'm terrible right now. But,
yeah, me too. So
I wanted to get out to that. I've never been to that Phoenix Open or whatever it's called. I just want to go sit at that hole and
just sit there
all day and watch these people.
You could people watch there all week.
The whole day. I know, right? I want to try to do that at some point.
They have a tournament here. I think it's Cognizant. I think it's either next week and the week after. So I went last year, and it's just it's so impressive seeing those guys.
They're pretty good, man.
Yeah, they're decent.
Rick's a lot like your game.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like Niedermeyer, just just focus.
It is their job. They're the best in the world at it, but Yeah, it's just fun to watch that stuff.
It is.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man. All right, brother. We appreciate you, man.
Good seeing you.
Hit him straight, bro.
All right, Nas, big thank you to Mike Richards for hopping on. New segment, Captain's Corner.
Yep. The captain himself. We got our boy Richie gonna join us once or twice a month here. Pretty exciting. It's always nice to hear his take because of what a player he was and everything. He's won everything, right?
Yeah,
he's been a winner. And but great to have him on. We welcome him aboard.
Yeah, he's got a great eye for it. Obviously, the feel for it. He certainly sees things differently than you and I, just because he just has that experience, and it's just nice to hear him talk about high level players and what he's seeing, and just got an amazing perspective. So looking forward to having him back on, picking his brain, breaking down some games and plays, bring it down. So thank you, Richie.
Yeah, thank Rick Bone.
All right, Nasty, you know what time it is.
I do know what time it is, Riggs. It is time for Clear Questions, brought to you by Clear Rum. Go to clearrum.com/shop, type in Nasty 2023, and get 35% off of your order. PA residents only. Riggs, you're stepping in for Baller again this week. What do you got?
Oh, yeah, here we go. Matt Borst on Twitter asks, what is your favorite international hockey moment that you remember? Wow. What do you got, Nast?
Well, I would say probably what I think I've said before. You've definitely heard me say it many times, but just the whole Olympics, that whole 2 weeks was best 2 weeks of my life. I mean, as far as hockey goes and being involved with something it's probably the highest level you can get to as far as, like obviously international play. And it's right up there with being in the finals. And unfortunately that year I lost in the gold medal game and the Stanley Cup finals, which we know, but that just being there and being around those players and just I can't even tell you, the atmosphere was amazing. It was in Vancouver, obviously great for Team Canada, but what a place to hold it as well. So much fun, that city. We all know you can have a bit of fun there.
Just a little bit.
And I did. I had a lot of fun, but that would be, might have been overserved. Probably 13 out of the 14 nights, maybe something like that. Maybe 14 for 14. No, but it was awesome, man. It was just one of the greatest things I've ever been fortunate enough to do. So that would be it. I was fortunate enough to work for USA quite a few times, and but that was the biggest one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, since I have no experience in international play, I'm just going to go with a moment that I witnessed, and you mentioned it maybe a couple of times today. Going to have to go with the kid.
The golden goal.
The golden goal. I mean,
you watched me. My heartbreak, and you still were happy about it. Like it blows my mind away.
Does it? Well,
it does.
It comes to mind. When I think of international play, that one, I could probably track down a few other memories, but that one, obviously, probably the most recent one. So,
yeah, it was awesome. It was devastating for us, but it was a great tournament and a great gold medal game. Goes to overtime.
Right.
Best player in the world scores the goal to win the game. I mean, it's like a storybook ending for Canada, right?
Exactly. Good for the game. So here we go. We got FJB and Scamala on Twitter. They want to know, why is it not a penalty for goalie interference when a goal is disallowed? Which is pretty good question.
It is a good question. Sometimes I get frustrated with it. I guess it's kind of cut and dry, but then sometimes it seems like it's not. It's the way maybe the refs watching the iPad see it. But I just feel like if you're in the blue and the goalie can't get to where he should be, then it should be a penalty, right? Like especially if you disallow the goal. I mean, is it that goaltender interference? It's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, I think you'd have to see the exact scenario play out, but I think, if you're obstructing the goaltender and it's disallowed because you obstructed, as a penalty there, right? I mean, so I think you'd have to see the play and to determine, but just like the diving penalties. It's like you're either diving or you're not. It's like you either you call the dive or you call the hook or the trip or whatever it is. To me, it's like I guess there are scenarios where they're both happen. The guy does give a little hook, and then there are guys embellishing.
The embellishment,
yeah. But so I don't think there's a very simple answer because every scenario is a little bit different. You have to break down everyone a little bit differently. But I would like to see that called because maybe you can remove some of those types of plays where the guys are not that they're deliberately trying to take a penalty or initiate with the goalie, but they're trying to play a hard brand of hockey.
Yeah,
and they're trying to get in those hard areas. And unfortunately, sometimes you bump a goalie, you bump a D-man into a goalie, and they disallow it. But it'd have to be very clearly intentional for them to call it, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was going to say, if I feel like if you're player, if you're an offensive player in that area, as long as your feet aren't in the blue, I believe that's the way you interpret the call. I like that, but I do feel like if you are in their blue and they need to come out to get position and you're in their way, then yeah, I think goals should not be allowed. But it is a great question because why not make it a penalty if it's goaltender interference? I mean, and like you said, though, I could see if a guy falls on a goalie and it's goalie interference, then that should definitely be a penalty unless they were pushed into him. But there's a lot of ways to look at it, but it is a really good point and a great question.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate the question. Yeah. Eric Wolf from Twitter is curious, which player on the team do you think will pop off coming out of the Four Nations break?
Well,
what do you got?
I think you said TK.
Because I did say TK.
He's not getting a lot of minutes, so he should be fresh, but still been on the ice handling the puck, where most guys have probably been on a bit of a vacation, right? Like, so I think you see TK pick up where he left off, and also Sam Ersson. He's been playing with some confidence, and he looked really confident in the one game he got, which we spoke about earlier against Team USA. So maybe it's Sam.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, both of those guys. I mean, maybe TK has a little more of a swagger, just chucking around the gold,
even though he loses. And
but yeah, I think those guys. I think all those guys will definitely be buzzing more than the guys that took time off. I would say, just because obviously the pace of play and just the momentum and just the energy that's involved in the tournament. I have to think that they're going to be coming back buzzing.
Yep, for sure.
All right, we got American Dream DR on Twitter.
American Dream Dusty Rhodes?
Oh, it sounds
That's
like
my guy.
Oh, yeah. Is it time to find
Daddy? Sorry, go ahead, buddy.
Is it time to finally transition Rocky Thompson away from PP coaching? He's never had great numbers coaching the advantage. What does he have on Torts? Well, what does he have on Torts to keep his job?
Well, he's tough.
He's real tough.
He could probably.
My money would be on Rocky over Torts.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily go that way in the office.
No. Man, this gets talked about a lot, Riles. Their numbers haven't been obviously anywhere where, even in the middle. I feel bad because, Rocky's such a great guy, and sometimes it's not just about a guy being a great guy, but you need to get these numbers up. And some will say, well, they don't have the talent to do it, which still a man advantage out there. And I think the numbers are pretty brutal, and they have been the last few years. And I do feel bad for Rocky because I'm sure he gets a lot of shit. But, at the end of the day, too, the head coach can step in and try to make some changes, and maybe he has. We don't know that. So,
yeah,
that's my opinion.
Right. And at the end of the day, like, the head coach does have, say in it. It's not like Rocky's doing power play all by himself in a corner away from the rest of the coaches. They have dialogue every single day. Like there's dialogue with all the coaches. Rocky's just presenting the video, right? He's just like in charge of being the messenger, really. But, to say that Torts isn't involved and the other coaches have no say, have no impact on, the way he's drawing up power plays, wouldn't be truthful, so it's just, he's not on his own. Let's put it that way. Right.
Yes, exactly.
And you mentioned it. I just, could they be a few percentages higher? Probably. You're talking about, a goal every 5 games. He would, move you up maybe 5% or something. But like, I'm just not sure. You look at some other like high level power plays, like they're not quite in that bracket of talent. But you did say they obviously have an extra guy. I hate this be old school and simple when I say like, just working around the horn. They scored one before the Four Nations tournament there. I think it was moved to the top, maybe Cam York or whoever it was, but maybe it's just more flow to the net and just finding more spray instead of finding that perfect pass. But what the hell do I know? And every one of the brothers probably saying the exact same thing. Everyone knows the answer. The execution at the end of the day is the key. And I don't know the answer. I don't know who you could bring in. Maybe Joey Mullen back in there and see if he can turn this thing around. But I'm sure that's discussed internally every day.
Well, the one thing that I laughed at, I was at the last game, I think right before the break, and a lot of people don't understand, and it's a joke. We always joke about with Jake Voracek, shoot. I always say to the person beside me, you can't shoot if you don't have a lane. Like the last thing you want to do is shoot it off someone's shin guards and it's going the other way. I just blows my mind away how a lot of fans don't understand that. It's not quite as easy as shoot. Yes, you can shoot it, but you have to have a lane to get it through. And there are some guys in the league, they can shoot a puck with a guy right in front of them. They just can find those lanes, and they're special players, right? But anyway, I think something has to give a little bit here, maybe sooner than later. And also, talking about a power play, how's Canada's top 5 you throw out there for the power play?
Not bad.
Oh my God,
not bad.
Insane. But anyway, we don't quite have that. If we had those guys on the power play, I can guarantee you the
you'd be praising Rocky. You'd be praising Rocky. Yeah, exactly.
He could be standing there like Ronnie Millsap or blind and run that power play, coach that power play.
I mean, the execution NHL power plays is, on a top tier power play is so pristine, right? It's just so well done, quick, efficient, right in the wheel. Every pass is in the wheelhouse, like just like you mentioned with Canada, like it's so crispy. Like it's like almost like a video game, right? There's almost like no bad passes, but you can see if there's like a weak link or, when a pass is made and there's one pass that's even a split hair off, how it throws a wrench in the flow of, whatever formation they're trying to, go with, whoever they're trying to find. It just slows everything down. Everyone's in positions. Now you got the fans saying shoot, and now the guy's got a guy in a lane and obviously not going to shoot then, but moving it around the horn and trying to hopefully find a weak side guy with a one-timer. Like, well, that's the play, but the pass has got to be on to be doing that, right? Yeah. So it's always an execution thing, and that's on the players. But we got to shuffle the deck sometimes when things don't work either, and who knows? I mean, it's out of my pay grade, and we'll see. Time will tell, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Moving on. Thanks for the question. Not a question, but Dan Knightley says Ristolainen to Dallas for Leon Bischel. Go look him up. Guy's a monster. 6'7", 230-pound left shot defenseman, 18th overall in 2022. Rookie season, been up and down from the NHL to AHL, 5 points in 16 NHL games, +6, averaging 50 minutes a night. Dauber Prospects scouting report says massive, smooth skating blue liner with polished defensive habits. Offensive tools need some work, but could easily become a top 4 defensive defenseman. Thoughts, Nast?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was telling Baller earlier. I saw Dan Knightley, what he had said or what he had sent us, and I actually did hear that name and that trade. It may have been Frank Saravelli. I think I heard someone else kind of mention it because we all think that Risto's probably on the way out for a team like Dallas. They could use him, obviously. But if you're able to get this kid back, now I can't act like I've seen him play, but from everything I've read about him since I saw, was it a tweet? I think it might have been on a podcast, but I saw them talking about this trade. And I looked into him, and he on paper, if you could get him for Risto, that'd be great. You do have to remember, I believe Risto has another year on his contract, so he would be there for 2 runs into the playoffs with Dallas. So it's not like you're totally just getting a rental. But kind of shocks me though if you're willing to get rid of a guy that size, and if he skates as well as they're saying and all of that, like that's a big part of playing in National Hockey League these days is being able to skate. Unless you have hands like Riggs. I mean, if you got middies like you and Gratz, it's a different thing. You don't have to be
don't need size
exactly. Or to be that fast. But from what I've read about him, is he is a smooth skating big man. So that would be huge. I don't know how that gets leaked like that, but we'll see. We'll see. There's been quite a few rumors, and we'll see what happens.
We will see. You're right. "Quote unquote massive, smooth skating blue liner with polished defensive habits." Well, I mean, why wouldn't you want a guy like that?
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, to me, if you can get this guy, unless there's something we don't know,
he's got some warts.
Yeah.
Still working on his offensive tools, so maybe that's it.
We can work on that.
Yeah, just get him working with me. We'll get that all tuned up. Back out
easy.
there.
Danny,
top four overnight. It'll be top four overnight.
I was telling Danny earlier today when I was talking to him, Danny Briere, about maybe bring you in with for some skills work.
Working with Angelo in the skills department.
Yeah, our boy Angelo. Yeah,
that's what I do.
That's right.
Teach non-skill guys how to be skill guys.
There you go.
It's a craft.
It is.
All right, last one here. Flyers Jabroni on Twitter wants to know, how does Canada US decide who the equipment guys are going to be for international tournaments? Is it up to the head coach?
It's usually the GM. But I will say in this instant, like for me, when I was fortunate enough to do it, Paul Holmgren is huge in USA Hockey, and he was a GM on the first World Championships I went to, and I guess I went in there. I guess I did decent job at it. For the next year, we didn't make the playoffs with the Flyers, so I was invited back because I knew the people, the assistant GM, Jim. Like some of the people that I met the first year, I was able to get back there for 2 years in a row. Jim Johansson was awesome. God rest him. And for the Olympics, I was fortunate enough to know Brian Burke a little bit. Obviously, he was a player in the Flyers organization. My dad was his trainer, and he's good friends with Paul Holmgren. So I was able to I was lucky enough to do the Olympics. And then in 2016, Dean Lombardi was in charge of all that. So he got me on there, even though he was still working with the Kings at the time. Him being a scout before, we're pretty tight. So I was really lucky. That's usually how it happens. I don't think it's a coach, because unless John Taglianetti, who's the head equipment guy in Pittsburgh, maybe he wanted to spend time with his family because he just had, he's had babies. And our boy Frosty from the Devils is there with Team USA. So his GM isn't working there. So with Bill Guerin being the GM of the team, I thought maybe Tony and Minnie would be there, but he's not either. Teddy's there from Florida. So it's crazy, but that's how I was picked. So I guess if guys are some guys may have turned this down for this tournament.
Right. Yeah. So it sounds like it's a little bit of who you know.
Yeah.
Usually always is to some degree, right? Who has your back to some degree, but not necessarily the head coach or the GM.
Right.
But someone that's connected to one of the shot callers anyways.
Yep, for sure.
Well, I didn't get the call.
Well, you were playing. Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be an equipment pigeon.
I'd like to be in the Olympics. I've been the third equipment guy.
Yeah, we could have used you.
Lots
going on. Lots going on.
Yeah. Lots going on is right. I've been distracted, Nast.
Yeah.
Now I'm focused, so
that's right.
Good. All right, Nast, that's a wrap.
All right, brother.
Hard to believe 191 in the books.
Woo!
Thank you, Mike Richards, once again, Captain's Corner.
Looking
forward to picking his brain in the future.
Yes.
All right, be sure to tune in next week for 192. Keep the questions coming. Appreciate all of them. Subscribe. Appreciate all the comments, clear questions today. Be sure to tune in next week for 192. Special guest coming in. Hot.
Yes.
Appreciate you all, knuckleheads. Stay safe. See you next week.